Well, it is time for that time of the morning on a Wednesday morning when we do exactly this.
News on what's hot and what's not in the world of technology with Mathew Dickerson on Tech Talk here on 3CFM.
And Matthew, a very good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning. Good to be back in the studio, and it's the new studio.
Yes, a new studio.
Looking very flash.
Very flash. While we're away, we did a bit of a reno.
Yeah, I go away for a few weeks and look what you do.
Now, how was your trip?
Yeah, fantastic. It's good to be back. A bit warmer here at the moment, and the smoke's gone, which was good.
Yes.
When I left, it was very smoky, and you got overseas, and the only smoke I saw overseas was from cigarettes, not from bushfires. So that was a little bit different. But no, it's good to be back with a clear sky and some warmer temperatures.
Okay. Look, just before we get on to things, you are celebrating your Access Technology business. It's been open for a number of years now. How many?
30 years we've been going in our, and it's a range of technology businesses. So there's 6 businesses I've started over the years, but I started one back when I was in year 7 at school, so that was a little bit longer than 30 years ago. But I kind of talk about my real starting business was December 4, 1989, so we've just ticked over 30 years.
Good, and congratulations,
Thank
mate.
you.
Now, we'll be talking about that and doing things on the day, which is coming up in February, but you've got a very, very special guest coming along.
Yeah, I've managed to get Dr. Carl to come along, and Dr. Carl's well known across Australia. He's officially one of our most trusted people, usually about number 5 or 6 in our most trusted people in Australia. He's a national living treasure, the list that came out a few years ago of the 100 national living treasures. So he's very well respected across the entire community in general, but obviously he's best known for his science, his medicine, his technology. So I thought it'd be a good mix from that background of his to come along and talk about something that's happening with technology here in Dubbo for 30 years.
I just want you to make me one promise. I get the interview.
Sure thing.
I want the interview.
I'll make some promise on behalf of Dr. Carl that I can't promise, but no, I'm sure he's a very nice gentleman, and I'm sure when you're there on the day and go along and ask him for an interview, I'm sure he can't say no and he can talk. So
I know he can talk.
So I'm sure he'll have a chat to you.
Oh, look, plenty of questions to ask him, and I imagine people coming along to Access Technology on the day will want to talk to him, A, about climate change, B, about fires, the environment. I mean, it'll just go on and on and on.
Yeah, that's right. I've had lots of people already saying, oh, great, he's here, we can ask him about, and insert anything, and that's what they want to ask him
Exactly.
about.
Oh, he's just a fantastic man. Now, look, we've got some incredible stories for Tech Talk this week. Unbelievable. Firstly, the Army have found a way to keep your hands warm without gloves. Please explain.
What a wonderful concept.
Yes.
And I actually found out a bit of information from a physiological perspective here. 15 degrees apparently is the magic number. Once your hands get below 15 degrees Celsius, then you lose your dexterity. And the Army was worried about this because people couldn't handle guns, probably couldn't reload guns. So they needed to come up with a solution, which sounds a bit gruesome, but a solution to be able to make them be able to handle their weapons a bit easier. But putting gloves on is obviously not a great way to do it because you still can't handle guns and reload and do things safely because gloves still, you lose a bit of the dexterity. So they did a bit of research about it, and they took people into a room where they had 0 degrees Celsius in the room and did a range of tests. And what they found was, rather than put gloves on, if you keep the blood in your arms warm to the wrist, then there's enough warmth in there that it flows through to the hand. So in their testing, they found that people's hands got down to around 11 degrees Celsius in a room without gloves on, in a 0 degrees Celsius room. But by having arm warmers on to the wrists, they managed to keep people's hands above that magic 15 degrees Celsius. And so to warm up your hands, you actually wear arm warmers, not gloves, to keep your hands warm, and you can then have the full dexterity of your fingers.
Oh, that's terrific. I mean, that's a great idea.
So they've done the physiological testing. They've got some prototypes for the actual devices. What they're really working on now is how they get those devices to the point where they're keeping the arm warm and there's a power source to keep warming them up without having to carry around a huge battery on your back.
Yeah, I've got a coat that warms me up. I carry a thing in my pocket and it warms you up. That's a rather good idea.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering how I'll go in this in the new car here with the heating in the winter time. And because you need the dexterity of your fingers, as you can see with the number of buttons and bits and pieces we've got here.
And just using your smartphone, for example. There's gloves that come out that have got supposed pads on them that allow you to keep using your smartphone, but they never seem to work quite properly. So I can see this being something that, sure, it started off in the Army, but I can see maybe a couple of years' time there'll be products coming out that'll have arm warmers built in, and you'll see people without gloves on with their hands nice and warm.
Get an arm warmer instead of a glove. The glove people are not going to like this at all.
No, that's right. But it seems counterintuitive. But that's what I love about
Yes.
innovation and technology. Sometimes people come up with solutions that don't seem the obvious solution.
Yeah, exactly. It's wonderful. I don't know about this one though. Spotify now making playlists for your pets. Come on, really and truly. What have we got? The dog got to listen to rock and roll or something or other.
Well, I must admit, I'm in the 29%, Richard. 71% of people create music for their pets and have their pets listening to music. And I've got a couple of dogs, and I've never actually tried to work out what music for the... I don't try to make my own playlist, let alone playlists for the dogs.
Dog, yeah.
So people are out there creating music for their dogs. So Spotify has come up with a concept where you put in the type of animal you've got, dog, cat, snake, duck, whatever it might be. You put in some information about its personality. Is it a placid animal? Is it an active animal? Is it young? Is it old? And then Spotify will automatically curate a playlist that will suit your pet's personality. So I can see images now of pets with headphones on and listening to the music. I'm not sure how you're meant to let them listen to the music, but this is the competition out there for people to try and have their music source as the one that you listen to is intense. And so this is Spotify's next weapon in their attack on people's listening habits.
They would never be able to cope with the late Susan. The late Susan was a Darshand, and she used to raid dustbins, and you'd come home from work and there she'd be lying on the ground looking like a barrel. And you'd have to put her on the chain for 3 days while she digested all that food. So I don't know whether they've got a greedy Spotify playlist, because that's what the late Susan was.
Maybe there's
greedy.
a couple of options there. One when she was eating and then one when she was resting afterwards.
Resting, yeah. Oh, just lying on the ground with legs in there. The first time I saw her, I thought she was dead. Breathing was just so full. Oh dear. Donald Trump, furious with Apple and what's going on there.
Yeah, and there's a bit of history here. Back in about 2016, I think it was from memory, the FBI found the phone, an iPhone, of someone who was involved in a shooting. And so the FBI took it to Apple and said, please break into this iPhone for us because we want some information off here which might lead us to other people that might have been involved or some more leads. And Apple said, sorry, the security of our phones and the security for our clients is more important than what the FBI wants. And so that caused a bit of a stink at the time. And it's happened again where there was another shooting down in Florida and essentially the FBI have got a couple of phones there of some of the shooters and they've said, please unlock them, and they've had the same answer. Now, Donald Trump, as Donald Trump does, thought he'd weigh into the argument here, and he said, I'm doing lots of good things for Apple to protect them and to make their trade situation better, so go and unlock it for me, please. And Apple have said again, if we put a backdoor in a phone, we can't put a backdoor in that's for the good guys only and not the bad guys. As soon as we put a backdoor in, then that can be exposed by people trying to do bad things with people's phones across the entire network. So no, I'm sorry, the security of our mobile phone is more important than you, Mr. Donald Trump. So thanks very much for all your help, but bad luck. So it'll continue on, I'm sure, the debate and the discussion will continue on. And most people would say, well, it seems unreasonable for Apple not to do that. But I also understand Apple's logic that you can't put a little backdoor in that only a couple of people know about. As soon as there's a backdoor, there's a backdoor.
Yep, indeed there is. Pardon me, you can't upset Donald Trump, though, for too long. Otherwise, you're in big trouble. However, we'll wait and see with the presidential election what happens there. But at this stage, Middle America are right behind him.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Apple mightn't be, but Middle America are. Matt, good to talk to you again. Good to see you back in town, hale and hearty.
Thank you.
And we'll catch you next week on Tech Talk.
Right, thanks, Richard.
This is DCFM 88.9. It's now 27 minutes to 10.